Alright guys, it's the moment I've all been waiting for. I finally got all the parts gathered up here for our rebuild on my wife's Kawasaki. It's a 1980 Kawasaki KZ550. You might have saw in the previous video that I took the carburetors off, and part of the reason I'm making these videos is not really for so much of a DIY tutorial for you guys, but really for me. Just so that in case I, forget where this screw here goes or something like that, that I'll be able to figure it out, right? And I had to order a couple of extra parts that I wasn't expecting. I was missing a bowl screw, so I went over and I bought some socket head or Allen head type screws to put in the bowls that are the same thread as what I've got in there now. So I'll be changing those out, and one of the things I'm going to do, if you can see here, I don't know if that's going to show up very well on camera, but that's all rusty right there. So I'm going to be cleaning all these up and polishing them up. Anything that's a moving part. That other shaft that goes through there that controls the butterfly valves, I'm going to be cleaning that whole thing up, polishing it up, and figuring out something I can put on there. Some sort of coating that I can put on there that will protect it from rusting in the future. But yeah, we've got a lot of cleanup to do, a lot of disassembly. And I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I've ever broke apart a set of 4 carburetors like this. I have worked on some of them, but the extent of my work has just been like taking the bowls off and cleaning out the different valves and fittings and orifices and stuff like that inside of there. The jets is what I was trying to say. I couldn't think of the word, but anyway, there's a lot to this, a lot of moving parts. So I'm going to get a lot of different angles, or I'm going to try to, and hopefully that will help me on the reassembly process when I'm going back together with this. First thing you'll notice is that what holds all these together is this big plate that runs along the back here. But that plate also, that shaft goes through that plate as well. So I'm going to have to take that shaft out and just do a lot of different things. So it's going to probably be a pretty long ordeal, and I'll edit through and show you guys the parts that I think are important. Alright, I pulled all the hoses off and just set them back here because I'll be able to reuse the majority of those. So anyway, just wanted to show an update on that, how that looks. I'm going to have to remember there are a couple of T's in here that go to the outboard carburetors. They connect the 1 and 2 and the 3 and 4, but nothing connects the 2 and 3 there. So other than this fuel rail. And in fact, that's where my problem is from the previous video. If you missed that, I believe there's some O-rings right in here that need to be changed out. They're probably dry rotted, and also in between here and here as well. So that's really why I'm doing this, because we have a really bad carburetor leak. So it was actually running okay, or it seemed to be. So hopefully I can get all this back together. That's a lot of parts inside of there. Oh, and one other thing I did was I made this little tray here so that as I'm disassembling it, I can put, the different orifices and fittings and jets and stuff like that in these containers and keep them separated. And I've also got the carburetors numbered on the back to what sequence they are on the motorcycle. So that'll help me out. So also I'm going to pay attention. I've got some vacuum lines or something over here, and I want to make sure I get those reconnected as I'm reassembling the carburetors. Okay. I need to take this throttle return spring off here. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm just going to use a pair of needle nose pliers and pull the spring tension off and pull it over the side and get the spring out of the way. It looks to me like it doesn't matter which direction it goes, so we're just going to set this aside for now. looking at everything I'm going to have to take apart. To remove this front plate here that holds everything together, that rod has to come out of there. So definitely going to have to do that. I suppose we can go ahead and remove this, the idle control knob here, basically where you set your idle at. And again, there's only one place for this to go, so we can afford to set this aside over here out of the way. I just really want to inspect everything before I completely disassemble. I don't believe I have to take the bowls off right now. I think I can leave them on and leave everything contained inside of the bowls and come back and disassemble that part later. So I guess the next step is to start taking these screws here out and looking at how we're going to remove this rod. I noticed there's a couple of plastic caps on the end here. It should pop right out of there. Okay, it's like a rubberized cap thing. Okay. And same deal on this side. And as I'm pulling this kind of stuff out, I'm just inspecting it. This one looks good, the other one looks good. I don't see any dry rotting or anything. I think I'll be able to reuse these. Okay. There's a little keeper right here that keeps the rod from being able to move back and forth this way very much. It's locked into a little slot, so we'll have to take that out. It looks like it pivots on these points here. So the rod, hopefully I can show you that. You can see the parts that are moving. Those are the parts we're going to have to unscrew. And then once that's unscrewed, that rod should slide out of there. So let's give it a go. Oh, that one's really in there. I may have to try a little penetrating oil on that. On both of those. That's not a good sign. Now, worst case scenario, I'm just thinking this out. I might be able to still pull the carburetors apart off of that without pulling those loose. So if it comes down to it, if I have to, I'll leave that shaft in there rather than mess up the threads on these bolts here that I can't replace. So I'll let that penetrating oil soak in a little more, and we'll start taking some of this other stuff loose here. Okay. It appears I'm going to have to take all these screws out, and then I should be able to slide that shaft out of there. So let's work on that while that penetrating oil is working. Okay, that had some spring tension on it. And because it's not a through screw, I'm just going to thread this back in lightly right here, just so we don't lose that. spring goes with that. So I'm just going to set that aside. Also, I'm going to put that detent ball in there, and I'm going to look in here and see if there's a spring inside of there. And yes, there was. Little tiny spring that you probably would have lost if you didn't know it was there. Put that with the detent ball. Okay, so that's done. All of these pieces are now independent, so we can pull these out and keep them in the right order. Now I believe the choke plates are also loose now, so we're going to pull those out. And just visually inspect, make sure there's nothing else loose in there or any extra washers that got stuck. Everything looks good on that part. So let us now see if that oil worked any and did any good for us. I'm afraid I'm going to mess up the thread. In fact, I've already boogered that one up a little bit. So we're going to have to try to do what I was talking about and see if we can get this apart without taking those two screws out. We still have to take this loose here. Actually, I may not have a choice. I'm looking at this. I can get this outside one off if I just take this back plate loose. I should be able to get this outside one off, but this one is captured by the plate here. And so I don't know how I would get this one off. So I'm going to have to take those screws out. Just had a crazy idea. This may be a really bad idea. I don't know. We're going to try it though, because I'm all out of ideas. I can feel the heat on that thing, so I know I got it warm. Oh, got her. Turned out to be the winning idea. Let's see if it works 2 times in a row. Okay, I'm going to have to turn this one this way. I was very hesitant to try that because this screw material is known for being pretty soft, and I was afraid it would tear it up, and it still might. So let's see how it goes on this one. Didn't work. Nope. Oh, shit. Okay. Let me think about this. Maybe now let's see. So since this one is loose, I should be able to slide the bracket off that way. I think this might just work, even leaving this one in, because apparently I have no choice. So let's continue on and break these screws on the back loose here. Alright, because of the struggle I'm having getting these off with the bracket and that one screw, I've decided that if I can pop these out and just change the O-rings out on them and put them back together without taking them any further apart than this, then that's what I'm going to do. And then when I come back, I'll spray everything down with, you know, carburetor cleaner, and I'll take the bowls off and work on that. But I don't think I'm going to be able to break these all the way apart because of that one stuck screw there. Now, I could do some different things like cut a slot in it and maybe get it out that way. I don't know, but at this point I'd rather, if I can just do this, I think that'd be a better option. I struggle just to get that one carburetor off of there. So I don't know how this is going to work out. Okay, that one came off a little easier. Put it to the side. Now I just need to get one of these two to move apart. Okay, there we go. Not too big of a deal. Alright, so I'm going to remember the orientation of that, and I'm just going to change these O-rings out and put this all back together like this. I wanted to polish up that shaft there, but I guess I'll just have to lubricate it the best I can. Alright, I think this is going to work out. I got all brand new O-rings on here. I've already installed them off camera, and I put a little bit of petroleum jelly or petroleum lubricant on there, like white lithium grease is actually what it was, I believe, and that's just to help everything slide in. But before I put it back in, I want to clean out all this rubber that's in here. Alright, grabbed a couple of Q-tips. We'll just hit these again. Get them good and juicy and try to get that stuff out of there. So I guess we're ready to try to start reassembling this thing here and getting it back to where we were just a minute ago. So first we're gonna have to put this one in. May have to pull that out of the way. Okay, that went in like it was supposed to. Can get this one now. I struggled with this one a lot more, so hopefully I'll be able to get it back on there. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Now I have to get this in. Okay, everything looks good, so now I can put those screws back in the front. I'm liking that. It turned out pretty good. So now all we have to do is reassemble all this stuff. But before I do, I'm going to spray some stuff down in here, some carb cleaner, just like this. Wire brush, probably a brass bristled wire brush, and start cleaning up here with the best I can, and then we're going to reassemble everything. It's already looking a lot better. Okay, we're going to let that set for about 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll check on the progress and continue reassembling. Alright, I got this choke shaft here polished up and looking nice, got all the rust off of it, so we should be ready to slide that back in. And it goes in from this side. And I've got to remember, before I get all the way to the end, I need to put that spring and that ball, detent ball, back in there. Okay, so let's see here. Which one? That's one. So go ahead and get our choke flap here. There we go. I don't want to go all the way down, just to about right there. Okay, everything's looking good there. Okay, we're going to start that shaft in. But now we've got to get that spring and this other thing here back in. Goes right here. Looks like it goes like that. So we'll keep going. Okay, so far so good. Keep going. Kind of massaging it into place, into position. Here we go. Okay, now before I go all the way in with that, I need to get that detent and that spring back in. So here's the spring. And here's the detent ball. It's good news, we got it. Grab a little smaller screwdriver here. Good and snug. Okay, so as we move that, we can see that choke moving up and down, so that's good. I've got all the chokes pushed all the way down right now. And we'll continue putting these screws in. Okay, now we're just going to see how you guys can probably see it through the hole there. All the chokes appear to be working as they should. So now we've got to get that spring tension on here. And I can actually see a little drilled out spot right here where that screw head is supposed to connect to. So this is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Have to overcome that spring pressure. Let me see if I can. You guys can't see it there, but maybe you can. There's a little tiny drilled spot right there where this screw is supposed to connect to. It might be easier for me to do it like this. Yes, we got it. Now it's time to start putting these screws back here and the throttle plate that runs all along there, that shaft. So we're going to have to get our screwdriver and get everything reoriented, relined up to the right position here. There we go. Okay, what I'm looking at is I'm lining all these holes up so that we can put our screws back in. I'm going to go ahead and squirt a little more carb cleaner down through here. Just working it up and down a little bit right here in case there's anything inside of there, gritty or whatever. We can get that to wash down into the bowl. I don't know why I said it like that, bowl. It's looking pretty good. I think we're ready to reconnect the spring. The throttle return spring. So we'll put that up here at the top. Grab our needle nose pliers and just hook it back on. Make sure it's all the way on its home there. Looks good. Okay, so now the throttle should feel normal again. It feels good. Okay. So since we're not going any further into the top end here, I think I can go ahead and put the top bowl covers back on. So let me get the screws cleaned up off camera here. We'll come back, and once the screws are cleaned up, I'll go ahead and screw these bowls back on the top. Then we'll flip it over and take the bowls off the bottom and clean everything out, have a look inside, see if I need to clean out any of the jets or the different passageways or anything like that, and go from there. Alright, we got our screws all polished up, so let's throw those back on right quick. Alright. Alright, now we're ready to throw these tops back on, these carburetors here. Alright, we got everything back together off camera. I just put those plastic caps back in and just kind of going over everything. They look really good. Again, I wish I could have gotten that one screw out of there and gotten the thing completely apart, but I think this is going to serve the purpose because these feel stiffer and feel a lot better. I can just tell they're making a seal, so I don't think I'm going to have any problems with that. And so the last thing I want to do, since I went ahead and bought carburetor kits for this, I thought I'd need a rebuild kit. I want to go ahead and pop these bowls off. And I bought some socket head, Allen head type screws to put in place of these because some of them are messed up already. So that being said, we'll go for speed here. Alright, now we can have a look. Not too bad. A little bit dirty in there, but not bad at all. And I can see where the previous owner replaced the gaskets, so I'm not going to change the gaskets out. They look good. Again, not too bad. I'll clean that out a little bit, but there's not a whole lot to do to it. I'm pleasantly surprised to see it that clean inside of there. Looks really good. Okay, I'm looking right here and I can see where this O-ring that goes right here, it looks like, is kind of squished out, so I'll probably go ahead and replace these O-rings and just visually inspect and make sure that I can see through all of these. But I can see that the jets have been replaced out in the past. Just to make sure we have a good seal there. And I may look in the kit and see if I've got these carburetor kits that I haven't even opened up yet. If it comes with this piece, yeah, see, that's what I was seeing, that rubber sticking out there. So we'll find the proper O-rings for that and clean that out. Just looking at these floats and the level, it looks like this one's a little high and that one's a little low. The other two on the outside look good. So we'll find the O-rings and we'll look through the kit and see if it comes with these tubes here. I'm wanting to call this an emulsion tube or something like that. Not sure if that's the proper name, but we'll see. And if nothing else, we'll get these cleaned up really good before we reinstall them with new O-rings. Alright, I already did the first two of these, what I'm calling emulsion tubes. Put the new O-ring on. Take a little bit of this white lithium grease just to help that O-ring go to its home. And screw it on in. And off camera, I made some adjustments to these floats. I could see this one here was way low and this one was way high, and I tried to kind of split the difference, and now they look all about the same. So just good and snug. You don't have to crank down on those real tight. But I thought I'd show you on this last one here. Just get your hook without poking yourself in the finger and get up underneath that O-ring, and most likely it'll break like that. And it's all flattened out and everything. So we'll throw that to the side, get the new O-ring, slide it on. And before we go all the way to the end, I like to get up underneath it with the hook. Try not to overstretch it, but you have to stretch it around those threads there. And once you get to that part, you can usually kind of roll it down the rest of the way. Very good. Little white lithium grease. Trying to just get it on the O-ring and the threads. I don't want it to clog any of these holes down here below. And before when you take these off, you need to look through them and make sure you can see light through the hole. Okay, everything else looks in order. The only other thing I'm going to do is off camera, I'll take some carburetor cleaner and just rinse these bowls out and clean any stuff out of there that I can get. And then one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to coat all these gaskets with a little bit of white lithium grease. In fact, I'll do that right now. And the idea here is that when I need to work on these again in the future, the bowl will come right off without sticking to the gasket. At least that's the idea. And you don't need a whole lot of it, just enough to keep it from sticking to the bowl. Alright, time to button everything up. Pulling this back off to take a look and see what's going on. Why I can't start that screw there. I didn't notice anything down in the threads, but there could be. Okay. We've got a broken screw right there. That's why I was missing a screw, is there's one that's broken right there. So that means I'm going to have to do I'm going to have to try to drill that out. It's below the surface. Okay. I'm going to see if I can find a real small drill bit, and maybe I can drill that out right quick. And I'm going to hold it in such a way where hopefully any of the shavings will fall out here. At least that's the plan. Some of the back of that screw is sticking up out there, but I can't think of anything that would reach in there and be able to turn that. I think I'm just going to have to drill it out without getting into the existing threads. That's going to be the hard part. All right. The drill bit bit into it and pushed it on through the threads. So that was really lucky. So I'm going to pull this over off camera and spray this at an angle with a little bit of carb cleaner inside of here to knock any of those shavings out of there. Oh boy, we got lucky there. Now I'm going to take one of the old screws and just thread it in there and see how it goes. Okay, it's threading in, feels okay. I think we got lucky. That's probably why the previous owner was selling it so cheap. He got in there and broke something and probably got scared off of it. And who wouldn't? Alright. But it just goes to show it's never as easy as a lot of these guys make it seem on these YouTube videos. At least for me, there's always something you run across that's not quite the way it's supposed to be, and you have to work around that. Okay. We'll just start a couple of threads on each one of these. So yeah, I had to go down to my local bolt company and match up the old bolts to get those Allen head screws, but I think it was worth it. And I got stainless steel, so hopefully they won't rust again in my lifetime. All right. Now what did I do with that Allen wrench? Just snug it. In a star pattern. Oh, that looks so much better than those rusty Phillips heads that were on there. It's going to make a nice difference. And mainly, if I need to take this thing apart again, it'll be easier on me next time around. Okay, now we're going to tighten them. You know, like that carburetor bolt that was broken off, we had to quickly figure out how to deal with that. And while that's tough, what I love about things like this is there's a definite solution to the problem. And that's what's great about mechanical work, is that unlike just bitching about politics or bitching about, you know, the way the world's going, you're actually doing something. And I like that. Something you can step back from at the end, and hopefully when you hit that button, the bike fires right up and you don't have to do very much tuning on it, and you're rocking and rolling down the road. That's what I'm talking about. It's all about twisting that throttle and having fun and not letting that stuff get to you. Of course, it does get to me, no doubt about it. It gets to me sometimes. I'm just like, my God, how much are the American people going to tolerate before they finally stand up and say, no, enough is enough? I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. But I do know how to do a poor boy rebuild on a set of 4 carburetors on a Kawasaki KZ550, so that's something. At least I'm not striking out, right? Alright, just get these tightened up. And remember to tighten them all the way. We're going to go back and check all of these because there's so many here to tighten. You want to make sure you didn't forget one or skip one. That's looking good though. It's gonna be a breeze if I ever have to pull these bowls off again. Let's say I put it in and I know that maybe I have to make some adjustments and take the carburetors back off again and get inside of them again. Well, it'll be a lot easier for me to get inside of here with these Allen screws rather than the Phillips slotted heads that they had on there. I just wasn't feeling like I was getting a good purchase on those. They were soft, and these are stainless steel, so they're nice and hard. Okay, very good. One last final check, and we'll just go straight down the line, trying to get them all to about the same torque. Okay. Very good. Yeah, I can't believe that stud was broken off in there and I got it out so easily. Usually it's a lot harder than that. I was worried I might have to try to drill it up and go to an oversized bolt, and I didn't want to do that and have one oddball. I wanted them to all be the same, which is what we got. So there it is, guys. I've just got to put the vacuum hoses and some of the other vent hoses and things like that back on, and we will be ready to install this back on the bike. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully now that we've solved that fuel leak, and again, if you didn't see that other video, I show how I diagnosed this. Basically, I had the hose still connected to it, the fuel line, and I poured some fuel in there through a funnel, and I could see it pouring out right here. So I know it was certainly leaking from here, and that was the only problem that I'm aware of with the whole carburetor system. Everything else felt like it was running really good, but I was able to get this shaft cleaned up and polished up a bit, and it works a lot better. Operating the choke a lot better. And see if I can do this in a way where you can see it. Since I did it the way I did, nothing came out of synchronization from the way it was before. So these are all open the exact same amount, and that worked out pretty nice. I did squirt a little bit of oil up in there after I used carburetor cleaner, but that was just to get everything working nice and smooth. And I also squirted the pivot points along this shaft with just some regular oil. And so guys, that's it. Poor boy's rebuild right here on the bench. In the next video we'll talk about I don't know if we'll show the reinstallation process, because there'll probably be a lot of cussing and stuff like that and angry words, and you may think less of me if you see that one. But when we're ready to fire it up, I'll certainly turn it back on and show you guys the results. Appreciate you tuning in. Hit me up in the comments if you have any suggestions or other ideas. Maybe if you have an idea of how I could have got that screw out of there other than a Dremel tool and cutting a slot into it, let me know what you think. I always love reading your comments, and good luck on your projects. Until then, we'll see you next time.